I take this as a privilege of having the honor to introduce the chairperson of this august occasion. Our chairperson is the head of the Monitoring and Evaluation and Senior Policy Advisor to the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, a professor of strategy, fellow of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, and former dean of the Business School, Central University. Currently, he is the board chairman of Glyco Pension Trust Company Limited, board chairman Golden Beach Hotel Limited, director of Vivo Energy Ghana Limited, Ghana Grid Company Limited, and Switchback Developers Limited. He also serves as serves as the coordinator of the Energy Sector Recovery Program. Previously, he was the head of policy coordination, monitoring, and evaluation at the Office of the President, chairman of the Oil and Gas Technical Committee, director of Ghana's Central Governance Project, and member of the President's Investors Advisory Council, as well as the advisory board for the UN Initiative on Continental Shelf Delineation. Prior to that, he worked as a consultant with PwC and lectured at the University of Cardiff and Portsmouth. He is an author of several books and over 100 publications. He has facilitated workshops and presented papers at several international forums. He has received many awards, including the President's Award for Exceptional Contribution to National Development. Without further hesitation, I present Professor Kweku Appiah Edu as the chairman for Gas Accountant Business Summit. Please, shall we welcome him with a standing ovation and a round of applause? Mr. Chairman, your audience.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for those kind words. But please, let's make ourselves comfortable. Good morning. Once again, it's always good to greet the audience and to greet the participants. And I'm one of you today, or I'm one of us today, so we are all participants one way or the other. And I'll keep my opening remarks brief. Today and tomorrow, all roads lead to Aqua Safari for the 2022 Gas Accountants Business Summit. This summit is aimed at bringing together major players in the energy sector to discuss issues that will facilitate the creation of a financially sustainable future for the sector. This is an initiative by the gas accountants who form the reconciliation team of the Energy Sector Recovery Program. The program, thankfully, is supported by all the SOEs who are part of the Energy Sector Recovery Program. So let's give all the sector agencies here a round of applause. Great to know each sector agency involved in the Energy Sector Recovery Program has supported us financially and in other diverse ways. So Ghana National Gas Company, Ghana National Petroleum Commission, VRA, GRIDCO, and reps from all the other energy sector institutions. We are most grateful. We as well, I must say, PURC also involved, and all of you have been great in your support to us. GAPS 22, discussion on the role of natural gas in Ghana's sustainable energy future. GAPS 22 will feature all sorts of experts, finance experts, energy experts, policy experts, business experts, and all these contributors will come together to discuss the natural gas business and how it can be sustained financially. Our presence here would enable us to tap into the minds of leading industry experts, as we will experience through the panel discussions that will take place on evolving prospects in the natural gas sector and engagement with other major key players in the sector. GAPS 22 will offer us the opportunity to interact with industry players in the entire natural gas value chain in Ghana. This summit will strengthen relations between stakeholders in the sector, business and market experts, and policymakers, while bringing the highlights of critical challenges and opportunities in the natural gas sector for discussion and strategy repositioning. GAPS 22 aims to support the efforts of the Energy Sector Task Force, which is chaired by the Vice President of the Republic, with other members, the Energy Minister, the Finance Minister, and the Minister for Public Enterprises. It will also support the efforts of the Energy Sector Recovery Program, popularly known as ESRP, in reducing the energy sector debt by engaging stakeholders in exploring alternative approaches to attaining financial viability in the sector. The summit will also delve into the business prospects of the natural gas sector to explore challenges, opportunities, and avenues for possible alliances to help us map out a comprehensive framework going forward. To conclude, I wish to pause by wishing all of us fruitful deliberations. So it's not you and then I walk away, as is done in some instances. I'm going to be here 24/7 today and tomorrow. So wishing us fruitful deliberations. Let us enjoy all the sessions. Don't pick and choose sessions, that you're going to be interested. Focus on all the sections and be determined to walk away from this place with great takeaways. Lessons that will transform us as energy sector professionals, one, and lessons that will transform us as individuals. So I'm not here only for lessons that will transform me professionally. I really want to be challenged as a person. So I leave this place with some values which would help me in life as the future has it for me. Thank you for your attention. And before I take my seat, I will call on the independent accountant of the Natural Gas Clearinghouse, who has several names, but at this point, because it's a formal occasion, I will call on Mr. Leonard Akufu-Kwapong. Where is he, Leonard? To give us the purpose of this gathering. And let's give him a round of applause as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Another round of applause to him. That's a very tough man. A very, very tough man. When he sends you a mail and you go down to his signature, you see the number of books that he's written, you know that, yes, he's a big man. Another round of applause to him again. We thank him for all the support. So, purpose of gathering. Our renowned chairman invited dignitaries my fellow gas accountants and fellow colleagues in the energy sector, ladies and gentlemen, you are warmly welcome to the second convocation of the gas accountants dubbed the Gas Accountants Business Summit. Earlier this year, the ESRP, under the leadership of the ESRP coordinator, Professor Kweku Appiah-Edu, put together a comprehensive report on the activities of the recovery program. This report encompasses the combined roles of the Natural Gas Clearinghouse and the Cash Waterfall Mechanism have played in reducing the energy sector debts. It also highlighted the detailed reporting of activities of the SOEs, IPPs, and other sector agencies in achieving this goal. It is important to note that the reconciliation team under the NGC and CWM has chalked several achievements in reducing the debt. We have ensured that each SOE within the value chain has received full payments for gas commodity and associated fees and charges, and has been made whole since the introduction of the Natural Gas Clearinghouse in October 2020 to January 2022. This shows that some solutions to a transparent and efficient energy sector has been found as far as the natural gas sector is concerned. We have also been able to reduce the legacy debt significantly without any extra payments by the government of Ghana. What we simply did was to track payments made by government of Ghana over the period and effect accounting entries through the gas to power value chain, and eventually giving government of Ghana back its credit. Mr. Chairman, in 2021 alone, we reconciled over $300 million, which will go back to government of Ghana as a credit. One of the issues that has added to the long-held legacy debt was the lack of transparency in the sector, and we are pleased that the ESRP financial viability in the sector. This summit has been strategically designed to focus on 4 very important areas, namely revenue collection, emerging African markets, natural gas sustainability, and the energy sector legacy debt. It will also highlight the importance of Ghanaian participation in the oil and gas sector. Present here today, we have energy experts across all fields of the sector, including policymakers, technical experts, gas business experts, legal practitioners, and accountants. The goal is to explore the various ways that we can all holistically find solutions to ensuring a financially viable energy sector. Oil and gas is a vital source of Ghana's revenue. We have identified the importance of Ghanaian participation and local investment in the sector, and the importance of owning our economic legacy. This summit aims to support the efforts of the Energy Sector Task Force, the ESRP, in reducing the sector debt by engaging stakeholders in exploring alternative approaches to attaining a financially viable sector. It will also delve into the business aspects of the sector to explore challenges, opportunities, and avenues for possible alliances to map up a comprehensive framework going forward. In another breath, although oil and gas resource is considered a very important source of income for nations, environmental and social concerns have been raised in countries blessed with this resource. Accountants and leaders in the energy sector have been encouraged to develop concepts of sustainable development and corporate social responsibility in their reporting, going just beyond financial reporting, but to an integrated reporting system that incorporates non-financial information with key consideration to the sustainable development goals. This summit will also highlight sustainability reporting and its importance in improving financial viability. Mr. Chairman, as it stands now, we have noticed the trend of male domination in the energy sector. The ESRP wishes to use this opportunity to challenge organizations to encourage female participation. As part of our commitment to gender diversity and inclusion, we pledge that the next edition of the summit will feature a well-balanced representation. I think I need a clap for this. So when the flyer came out and we realized that the speakers were all male, I've had a lot of bashing on this, and I believe with the help of all of us, next year we'll do well to encourage more women. Mr. Chairman, I want to use the opportunity to encourage all participants to take full advantage of this summit and the other opportunities that will arise over the course of the period. Let's engage, collaborate, and build our future together. I entreat you all to participate in the discussions and contribute to enhancing this discourse. The responsibility lies on us to tap into our various fields of expertise to bring together the various dimensions. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the support of all the SOEs, especially Ghana Gas, GNPC, ECG, PURC, Bui Power Authority, GRIDCO, and VRA. We also want to thank all participants of the ESRP, the NGC Implementation Group, the CWM working groups, as well as the reconciliation team members for the efforts they have put in ensuring the success of this summit. Thank you very much and have a good time. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to delve straight into our presentations, and we'll be starting with, we're supposed to have the snack break now, but we've been told by Aqua Safari that it's not yet ready. So we would like to start with Ghana's energy generation mix and the future outlook. With a round of applause, we would welcome Mr. Abdul Wahab of VRA. We will do this on behalf of Mr. Edward Kenzo. A round of applause to him, please.
Will I have the presentations over there?
Yeah, they're showing it. Or do you want it here?
So that I can control it. Good morning, everyone. And my presentation is on Ghana's energy mix and the future outlook. I'm doing it on behalf of the Deputy Chief Executive of VRA in the person of Edward Obin Kenzo, who is out of town now. The outline of my presentation will be like this. We'll look at the evolution of the generation mix, that is, looking at it historically, where we started from and where we are now. Then we will look at the current generation mix. Then we will look at the future. Of course, the future generation mix will be driven by the demand for electricity. Resource availability will also influence that. That will lead to the generation mix. And then we'll highlight some issues that require attention of each and every one of us here. So historically, we have shown from 1990 to 2021, we started with 100% hydro in terms of installed capacity. And as at end of 2021, we had in excess of 5,000 megawatt of generation capacity installed in the country. Of that, 68% is from thermal source, and the others from hydro and renewable sources. That is by way of installed capacity. When we look at it by share of generation, we see that the blue here is the portion that indicates the hydro portion. And this part is a thermal. And this is imports and renewables. We can see that over the years, as we started with hydro being 100%, the hydro is almost at the same level, but then we see the thermal portion increasing. Now within the thermal portion, we see the thermal now, we started off with liquid fuel. So that is history. Where are we now? This is the list of all plants that we have in the country. We've shown by fuel, hydro, natural gas, and then renewable. And again, if you look at it from installed capacity, we have 62% of it being natural gas, 31% hydro, HFO being 5%, and then solar 2%. As at end of August this year, this is the generation mix that we had. 64.75% thermal, solar 0.13%, hydro 34.97%, and we imported 0.15% of electricity. A typical case of March 18, 2022, to put the gas demand supply balance in the right perspective. On that day, the peak demand that was recorded on the Ghana power system was 3,469 megawatts. That was the peak demand that was recorded. That is the first quarter of the year. And typically, the peak of the country is recorded during the last quarter of the year. So we expect that during the last quarter of this year, we even see figures higher than 3,469 megawatts. We are expecting figures between 3,600 and 3,700 megawatts during the last quarter of the year. On that day, the gas supply was 355 million standard cubic feet. Yet, a total of 501 megawatts still had to run on liquid fuel. And that 355 was even possible because there was a line pack of 25 million standard cubic feet. So that is the situation that we find ourselves in. This peak is not the highest. We had, with the exception of one unit at Bui, which was not online on that day, all hydro resources were in operation. So that is the situation that we find ourselves in now. So what does the future look like? This is the demand outlook up to 2040. We have the high, medium, and the low case. And then we are looking at a low demand outlook of 5.4% growth over the period, high of 7.5%, and a base of 6.2%. So this is the band that we are looking at. And we are looking at our demand moving close to almost 100,000 gigawatt hours by 2040, and in excess of 14,000 megawatts by 2040. And it's easy to deploy. The cost is competitive. When you talk of nuclear, yes, nuclear has a potential to play a very important role going into the future. But the capital cost of nuclear makes it a challenge, even though the cost of generation from nuclear is quite competitive. So taking all this into consideration, if you have a situation where you decide to, after developing your hydro and then your renewable, the country has a target of doing up to about 10% of its generation from renewable, and then you take the rest from thermal. We are looking at 88% of our generation sources coming from thermal by 2040. With that, this is the profile of our natural gas demand. We are looking at natural gas demand shooting to 1,200 million standard cubic feet a day by 2040. And clearly, natural gas continues to remain critical to the power sector of the country. If you decide to add nuclear just to reduce the natural gas requirement, and let's say now the discussion is looking at a possible 1,000 megawatt of nuclear, and the construction alone is about 7 years. And the target is to do the nuclear by 2030. So let's even assume that nuclear comes online at 1,000 megawatt by 2030. And 7 years down the line, you do another 1,000 megawatt of nuclear. Even that, the thermal, other sources, that is thermal, becomes 61% by 2040. So whichever way you look at it, you realize that thermal and, of course, natural gas will continue to play a very important role in the future of the power sector. If you introduce the nuclear, the 1,200 megawatt, 1,200 million standard cubic feet per day gas demand that was recorded in 2040 drops to 800 million standard cubic feet a day. And clearly, these are high volumes that we are looking at. So with all this, these are some key issues that require our attention. Clearly, we have limited hydro, and renewable energy alone cannot address Ghana's energy needs. Thermal generation will continue to play a key role in the future of the power sector. Projected natural gas requirements could mean high volumes of LNG if the local sources of natural gas is exhausted. LNG prices today is in excess of $12 per MMBTU. That is in excess of double the WACOG that we have. And this clearly has a negative implication on cost of electricity generation in the country. Does it mean we are going back to liquid fuel? If we are talking of introducing nuclear, nuclear is about 4 to 7 times the cost of thermal in terms of the capital requirement. So if you are developing 1,000 megawatt of nuclear, you are talking of between 4 to 7 billion US dollars to develop that capacity. Do we have the ability to mobilize that kind of capital to undertake that kind of project? So these are some issues that will have to engage our minds. We need to start finding solutions to the future fuel requirements for power generation. Are we going to look at long-term gas supply contracts at relatively good prices so that we can guarantee fuel supply security? So, ladies and gentlemen, today these are some issues that we believe should engage our minds as we hold this summit. Thank you very much.
So the floor is open for questions now. Questions on the future generation mix. Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to find out on your slide, which talked about the future outlook. What's happening to hydro?
Okay, there's hydro in it. This portion is the hydro portion. And as I said, because the hydro potential is limited, there is so much of hydro that you can do. And over the long term, you want to look at the sustainable level of hydro generation, just because you are not sure of what level of water that you can get. So when you are looking at it over the long term, you want to stay at a level that you are certain that you will get that. But on year-to-year basis, you look at it. But then the difference between the year-to-year and this picture would not be that different from this. Maybe you get some probably 300, 500 gigawatt hours more than the figure that you've shown here because of a higher elevation that you are recording the hydro. But we are looking at in excess of 40,000 gigawatt hours. So 300 or 500 gigawatt hours is not what is going to change your situation. Yeah.
Thanks for your presentation. That was excellent. You seem to be hedging your bet on nuclear, and I'm not sure that will really, come to fruition the time you're looking at. I'm wondering if you relax your assumption on nuclear, what would be the scenario?
So if we relax the assumption on nuclear, then this is the situation that we are looking at. If we assume that we are not going to have the nuclear by the 2030 as we've planned, then it is going to be all gas. But then it depends on which sources of gas, because then this is just the total volume. But as to whether X percent will be LNG, this percent will be Nigeria, this percent will be local fields, this doesn't say that. It just tells you that you need so much. So together we have to find which sources can help us achieve these volumes of gas. I don't know if I've answered your question.
So I was expecting the plans, the possibilities that you have to fill in. Is it thermal throughout, or you want to do more of RE, or
It's mainly thermal because, as I said, for reliability of supply, you cannot depend on RE. So you can have so much of RE. So the previous slide, the green line there is the RE component in the mix. Then the blue is the hydro, and then the rest is the thermal.
I'm sure.
So thermal component would be about 88% of the
By
mix.
2040.
By 2040.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I have a question for you. You gave a typical example of March 18, 2022, and then I think you had a projection for up to 2040. March 18, I want to assume that we had some element of export in our demand there. So I want to find out the projection that you've made, is it just for domestic consumption, or you've included some level of export? If that wasn't done, I think we need to look at that aspect as well, because the country, to the best of my understanding, we are positioning ourselves to export electricity to our neighboring countries. So if the export comes in, what will be the impact on the demand? Thank you.
This picture includes export because we look at the Ghana power system, and the Ghana power system is connected to different countries. So export is considered in this.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Yes. My question is so related to the nuclear, the first one. I know a lot of European countries are decommissioning their nuclear plants. So are we likely to continue in that way? That's the first one. The second one is that we're looking at we talk about the excess capacity. How far are we from exhausting that? And then what are the preparations towards bringing new plants on board? Thank you.
With respect to the nuclear, I know the country has taken a decision to go nuclear, which has gotten presidential assent. So it's a decision that as a country, we have to make, whether with some of the issues with nuclear, the capital mobilization and all that, if we think that we're in a position to do that, then as a country, it has to be a decision from the country. But the point that I made with respect to the nuclear was to highlight the fact that even if you diversify by introducing nuclear, it still doesn't solve the gas requirement problem. It still leaves a huge chunk of gas demand on the system. So that was the main import of the introduction of the nuclear, to let us see the two scenarios. Even when you introduce nuclear, you still have a huge demand for natural gas. With respect to the excess capacity, in about 2 or 3 years, all that capacity, even now, there are times that if a lot of units are out for maintenance or there are fuel issues, we see challenges in supply. So clearly we are getting to a situation where the excess capacity will be exhausted and new capacity has to come online.
Okay. So the last question.
Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. Wahab.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, then we are done for this session. Your question.
Okay, thank you very much. My question has to do with the Paris Declaration of getting 10% of renewable energy. In your presentation, we didn't see the policy that government is in a way putting in place to get 10% of renewable in our energy mix. I would also want to find out the introduction of nuclear. Is it as a result of we, in the very short future, not having gas? That's the reason why we are trying to bring in the nuclear energy. Because as part of your presentation, you indicated that the cost of putting in a nuclear energy is about 6 times in putting up a 500 megawatt plant. So I think we will need to get the understanding why we think we should go to nuclear. We are technical men. There may be a policy up there, but then we have, as technical guys, will have to digest to see if that policy is what it is. Thank you.
I'll take the renewable first. The renewable consideration of 10% of the mix coming from renewable is in this one. We did it as 10% off, half 10%. In terms of energy, you see it as a small line there. So that policy decision has been accounted for in this one. And then you see the green portion becoming bigger, I think from 2030 or thereabout. You see it. So it will grow gradually until we achieve the 10%. The nuclear, all I will say is it is not, it's a national decision. There's a whole authority responsible for nuclear, and they have been able to convince the stakeholders and then the policymakers for the country to go nuclear. So I think as for the arguments for and against, we need to engage them for them to convince us. But I am only presenting the impact of nuclear in the gas demand as far as the future energy mix is concerned.
Okay, thank you. But before the next question, just a quick announcement. We found a wallet in the washroom, so please check. If yours is not with you, then you go there for it. Please, just to announce that this program is being streamed online, so please increase your voice so that those online can hear you. And it would be good if you stand up too, so that the video can capture you. Thank you. Your time, please.
All right. Thank you. My question is looking at the challenges that we're going to incur if we have to do more thermal by 2040. From your projections, we are looking at 88% of thermal. Do we have the capacity? Is it feasible? Looking at the price and the cost involved. And then if you look at the way Ghana is going, can we really achieve this? Thank you.
It looks expensive, but then once the demand is there's always the possibility to make a business case to undertake any project. So that is that is the conviction that I have, because you have to raise capital, and then the one who is going to finance it will want to be convinced that indeed there is demand there. So once you've been able to do that assessment, then it becomes easy to mobilize funding. But the other bit is on the payment side, whether the existing framework will be convincing to the one who will be lending the funds to you. So for me, those are the two sides. But then, more importantly, is the natural gas volumes that will be required, and whether the local fields can support that. And if the local fields cannot support that, and we have to go out, what are the options? LNG, today, look at where LNG prices. We don't know if it will come down going into the future. So these are real issues that will confront us. If you are going for LNG, the cost means the cost of electricity now will have to go up significantly. And PURC is here. They will tell you the difficulties that they go through if they have to increase the tariff by even 1%. So these are real issues that are going to confront us as we go into the future.
Well, thank you, Ab. I think you've addressed my question. You've really answered it. So is it possible that in your slides, you actually put these challenges there so we get a real picture?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Around the world, we have seen that there is consistent at a high probability level for wind and solar to generate at certain times that you can actually take. Wind actually here in Ghana will very consistently produce capacity during your evening peaks. There's also benefits that they have as far as reactive power that are not being commercialized here yet in the ancillary markets. So there's a lot of opportunities for renewables going forward that I think you have discounted in the projections of the gas. On top of that, having those renewable sources also provide a hedge, because now you're not as completely dependent upon the natural gas. So what happens if some of your natural gas resources actually, you have supply disruptions? Having this, a portfolio of different technologies actually provides value to the system by being able to produce and not be reliable on those supply contracts of the natural gas. All of these things have value, yet they're not being actually monetized here in Ghana, and I think that they could make a much stronger. So yes, we have issues. We all know that technology, these renewable energies have lower capacity factors, but that's not the end game. There's a lot of things that you're not considering in that simple statement, and I would encourage you to look and align this with the National Energy Transition Plan as well. Thank you.
Okay. This assumes 10% of the installed capacity being renewable. So that is this one. Now, the National Energy Transition Policy is still work in progress, and I know they are on the agenda to come and present what they are doing. So this, just look at the current policy on renewable, which says that 10% of the capacity is RE. So that is the assumption that has been made in this. But going into renewable, GRIDCO will tell you the limitations that the grid has. So yes, renewable has the potential. Wind and then all that. VRA is considering wind, we are doing solar and then all that. But the grid also has its own limitations as to the quantum of renewable that it can allow onto the grid. So yes, it can help reduce your fuel requirements, but still there's a limit because there are other constraints, other considerations from the grid, other considerations from cost, other considerations from technology evolving and then all that. So for now, yes, there's a potential. There's talk about renewable costs going down and all that, but this actually looks at 10% of the mix coming from renewable.
The last question from Wallace.
All right. Thank you very much for your presentation. My question is really on, I think about your last two slides. You made mention of we having a long-term contract for the natural gas. Now, looking at what is happening in Europe now, where there's been a paradigm shift to move from the long-term gas contracts because it's become very pricey. Do you still recommend that Ghana, we should be looking at that? And what are the possible sources that we should be looking at the current global market? Thank you.
I think that there are discussion points because there's an issue with respect to the quantity of gas that is required, and there's an issue with the cost now as we look at it. The cost can go down, it can go up. So we have to look at it together. So there are discussion points. I even raised the issue, are we going back to liquid fuel? These are all things that we have to engage our minds to and see which path is the best for the sector. I wouldn't want to claim that I have all the answers, but these are things that we'll have to engage our minds for us to come to a solution.
Thank you very much. I think at this point we'll give him a round of applause. Thank you very much for the dedication. Thank you very much. I think our snack break is ready, so we'll do a quick 10 minutes snack break, after which we'll deal with the cash waterfall mechanism. Let's use this opportunity to interact. Introduce yourselves to each other. I think at this time we have quite a number of us around. So 10 minutes break starting from now on. We come back at exactly 11:45 for cash waterfall mechanism.
Papa, I'll be doing this. So, you know, I did the real myself.